Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today, we are going to be talking about an interesting topic that I have seen recently on social media that has been mostly championed by someone that we've actually talked about before on the channel. And so that is Jordan Underwood. Now, Jordan is a fat activist that does a lot of work, a lot of work on social media, talking about stigmas versus fat people and the issues that fat people might face. And they are definitely on the more extreme end of health at every size, body positivity, fat acceptance, that whole genre. They're definitely on the more extreme side, in my opinion. But recently, they have been going on about disabilities and fatness, and when does fatness basically equal a disability, and if your size has made it to where you now are quote unquote disabled, how much help or how much of a disability is it really when your size is the main reason of that? And so there was a TikTok that they uploaded that kind of goes over it, and then there are some subsequent TikToks where they're responding to some of the comments on that. And so we're just going to get into it. We'll go over the TikTok, and then I'll share my thoughts. So this is the original TikTok right here, and let's just give it a play.
I hate when people say that wheelchairs are only for people who need them. Because when they say that, what they mean is wheelchair users are for people who are paralyzed. But
I don't necessarily disagree with this. I think that wheelchairs are definitely for people that are paralyzed. There are also tons of other reasons why someone might use a wheelchair. I personally, if I see someone in a wheelchair, I never really question why they're in a wheelchair, or if they need it or if they don't, even if that person is fat. Like, I understand that when you are very large, it is hard to get around. And so therefore having a wheelchair or a mobility scooter or something like that makes that easier. I'm not out here saying that if you're fat, you deserve to suffer the consequences of that, but it's not that simple. There's definitely more nuance to it, which I'll get into. But I'm not someone that is like, oh, if you're fat, you just need to deal with it and get over it and like stop complaining and just lose the weight. I understand it's not that easy, but also it's not impossible to lose the weight. And I personally would never, in my opinion, I would never say that being morbidly obese is the same as someone that literally can never use their legs again, right? And so therefore, like, a wheelchair is the only thing that they can do and they have no other option. I think trying to claim that they're even in the same ballpark is a little ridiculous, and there's not going to be many people that are going to agree with you, in my opinion.
But not everyone who is a wheelchair user, who uses a wheelchair, who needs a wheelchair, is paralyzed. Because if you're gonna do away with wheelchairs for anyone who has the physical ability to stand for like a couple seconds, I think we should do away with strollers. Because toddlers can stand, they can walk pretty far actually. If you hold their hand, they can get around fine. You know why we use strollers? Because we do need them. We need them. You cannot tell me that we do not need strollers.
I mean, I don't think anyone would say that you don't need a stroller. And like, honestly, like, when it comes to strollers, yeah, there are, at some point, some babies literally cannot walk, so they need a stroller. But a lot of times, like, it's not because the kid isn't capable of walking. It's because, one, it's just easier to deal with them instead of them running away to put them in the stroller. And like, I don't understand why we make these comparisons, because I feel like it just makes you look so out of touch, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. It's just so different. Like, those things are so different. To compare them is just so unnecessary, in my opinion.
And we use strollers for kids who are pretty big, right? 4, 5, 6 years old. You're using a stroller because kids get tired. Their muscles are underdeveloped, just haven't gotten the chance to grow yet. And you know what? Some adults need strollers too. And that stroller is a wheelchair. So get the fuck over it. We're not in a mass wheelchair shortage, okay? What is your commitment to making disabled people and fat people suffer all the time?
So the thing is that I think the issue here is that you say like disabled people and fat people. Those are two very, very different things. I do think that your size, and you can get literally so fat that now you are basically disabled, but that is very, very different than someone that was in an accident or that was born with something or that has a genuine condition that they can never, ever change. And to say that it is similar is just wrong, in my opinion. They are very different. Does me saying that mean that I think that if you're fat, you don't deserve to use a wheelchair? No. But if I'm being completely honest, I will never, and maybe this makes me toxic piece of crap, that's okay. I will never see someone that is so overweight that they cannot walk, that I will never have the same like sympathy. This makes me sound bad, but I'm just being honest, as someone that like, you know, is paralyzed or something, like, and they cannot use their legs. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to sit here and judge you and make fun of you and say you shouldn't use that or anything like that. But also, if I'm being honest about the things that are going on in my head, I'm going to feel different. I'm going to feel differently. And I would not say that they are on the same level, because I truly believe, and I think this is where I differentiate so much with the fat activists, is that I believe you can lose the weight. And like, Jordan, I'm not sitting here saying that you need to lose 300 pounds. And then if you lose 50, 100 pounds, I guarantee that amount of weight will absolutely help this situation. Now, if you're not familiar, Jordan recently came out, was talking about how they were diagnosed with lipedema. And so that absolutely does make losing weight more hard. And I want to just make that clear, because probably people that are commenting, oh, they have lipedema, they can't lose weight. I don't believe that just because you have lipedema, it means that, again, that's like some sort of death sentence, and that you can't do anything, so might as well just do whatever and just gain the weight until you can't move anymore. I believe that there are things that you can do to make the lipedema not as much of an issue, right? And so I believe, and then obviously most people that are significantly overweight do not have lipedema. And so I absolutely believe that you can at least lose enough weight to where you feel that you do not need a mobility scooter or a wheelchair to get around because of the size that you have put yourself in, right? Like, I understand that there are so many reasons why people gain the weight, but I'm sorry, like, when you are getting up to the size to where you can no longer walk anymore, like, there is a good amount of personal responsibility there that you need to take control of, because if you just decide, you know what? There's nothing I can do. I am just going to be overweight. I might as well let this kill me. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't agree with that. I just can't. But this doesn't mean I don't have empathy, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, I don't care if you're 500 pounds. You have to walk everywhere. No, of course not. Right? Like, of course not. If you need a wheelchair or you need a mobility scooter, by all means use it. I don't care. But to sit here and like use it as a way to be like, I'm on the same level as someone that's like genuinely disabled, I just don't agree.
If an accessibility tool makes your life easier, you should fucking use it. Because life fucking sucks, okay? And if it makes a difference between you going outside and not going outside.
So life sucks, yes, but I would argue that a lot of people that are really struggling with their weight, the reason that their life is maybe not as good as they want it to be is because of their weight. And so instead of just being like, just, you know, embrace it and just use the wheelchair, use a mobility scooter all the time. Instead of doing that, why not work on the thing that maybe is making you not super happy? I'm not saying that this is you, Jordan. It doesn't seem like that's the case. And so I'm not trying to sit here and say that is, but it's just so frustrating because like a lot of times when we talk about stuff like this, these people that make these claims, they see the life through their lens. And it's like they expect everyone else to see life through their lens, but they refuse to see life through other people's lens. There are plenty of people out there that absolutely feel like their weight is something that is hindering them. And so they would like to lose that weight so they can enjoy the life that they want to enjoy, the life that they feel that they should be able to enjoy. And so I don't see anything wrong with seeing it that way.
Use the fucking wheelchair and go outside, because life is so fucking short. And if you really cared about people's health, you would know that going outside is better for your health and well-being than not going outside. And being able to live independently can mean the world's difference to somebody. Because that independence can mean getting to the doctors regularly, or going to the grocery store, or going to be able to pick up your meds. If you actually cared about people's health, you would stop discrediting that.
So this was a comment that was left on that original video that we just watched. And it said, if you stop using a wheelchair, it will fix your disability, right? And this is them responding to this comment.
I need everyone to use your imagination for like 2 seconds. Imagine that I am a thin person and then read this comment. Like, are you okay?
So the thing is that you're not, right? And so like your weight is the reason that you struggle to move around. Your weight is the reason that you feel that you need a wheelchair or a mobility scooter. And so like, I'm not saying that I agree with this TikTok comment, like, you know, TikTok can be ruthless, but I don't see the I don't understand how you don't see the disconnect. It's like, yeah, if you were able to lose weight, you would be able to not need a mobility scooter, not need a wheelchair. I can guarantee you the vast majority of people that genuinely need a mobility scooter or a wheelchair would rather not need it. They would rather be able to not have to use it. And right? So it seems like you want to use, that's why I think so many people are like, what? Because like, why would you want to use something if you could instead, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm going crazy because like, I want you to imagine that I was a thin person. Yeah, but the whole thing is that you're not. You're very clearly not a thin person. And that's the reason that has made it to where you feel that you need a mobility scooter or you need a wheelchair. And so this person wouldn't have left that comment if you were a thin person. So the comment wouldn't exist, right? Here's another comment to that original video. Except you're using it because you've done it to yourself, whereas people with real disabilities don't have a choice, LOL.
This is another example of what I was talking about in that video. Just swap out people who need wheelchairs with people with real disabilities. Yes, people who need wheelchairs should be allowed to use them without skepticism.
Yes.
People with real disabilities should be allowed to use wheelchairs without skepticism.
Yes.
And harassment. But what are you using to determine who has a real disability or who needs a wheelchair?
It seems like this person is probably thinking if you can do something about changing your habits in your life to where you would not need that wheelchair anymore, and you have you have that, you can do that, then they would probably consider, I'm not saying I agree with it, but they would probably consider that as something that is you can change, you could do something about it, versus a lot of people that literally have to use it. They have no other option. There is nothing that they can do to change that fact, right? So I would assume that that's what they mean.
When you look at someone and determine whether or not they actually need the mobility device that they're using, what are the things that you're looking at that you are using to determine whether or not they need it? Fatness is one of those things that people often use to say that person doesn't really need a mobility aid. They're just fat, which is why I brought up fatness in that video. It's not because I think all fat people are disabled or that I think fatness is a disability. I brought fatness up because that is, I'm assuming, to be the number one thing that people use to determine whether or not they feel that someone deserves to use a mobility aid or that they should be using it without harassment.
At the end of the day, like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm not going to sit here and tell people whether or not they're allowed to use a wheelchair or not. Like, if you want to use a wheelchair, I literally don't care, right? Like, you could use whatever you want. You can not use whatever you want. But the reason that I don't really like this type of thinking and this type of like mindset is that it really leans in my opinion, it leans into the idea that if you are overweight, you cannot change it, and that it's something that you just have to live with. There's nothing that you can do about it. And I'm sorry, I just personally disagree with that wholeheartedly. I believe that you absolutely can change your life, and comparing, and I have an issue with comparing, your weight and you gaining such a large amount of weight that you now feel that you need a mobility device as someone that had no choice in the matter with needing a mobility device. I personally just think it's wrong to compare the two, but that's just my opinion. I'm genuinely like wondering what you guys think down in the comment section. Like, what do you think about this? Like, do you agree? Do you disagree? I do think there's a lot of nuance in this conversation, and I feel that there will be some like really cool comments in the comment section. Like, share your experience. I don't know. I'm really curious what people think, but thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.